with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is.
I was afraid, I didn't know what to do. A lot of us be coming in it.
And what I'll say was amazing to me was
Season 2. Welcome back to the L3 Perspective. My name is Glenn Davis. As you know, I'm sitting here with my co-host, Cameron Macias.
Coach Cam.
L3 Perspective, as you know, we talk about life, love, leadership.
As we've talked about in the past, like, love, share, subscribe. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Because at the end of the day, we do it for you guys.
We are back. Another episode of the L3 Perspective, Season 2. Excited to have a conversation today with my brother Cam.
Hey, you.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Coach Cam.
Good. Talk to him, man. Talk to him.
So, per the usual, like, love, share, subscribe. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. You're going to see me clicking and clacking. We don't have Alex today, so it's on your boy Cam. We do it for you guys. And that's the whole point, that we tell you to like, love, share, subscribe, and also tell us what you like and tell us what you don't like, because we can't improve if we don't get feedback. And so for those of you that have taken the time to watch, we appreciate you. Today, G and I are going to talk about a workshop that we did today, as well as the main topic around accountability.
Yes, sir.
So that being said, accountability.
Yeah. So I want to start off by giving a shout out to Solano County.
Yeah.
Right. Like the organizations around Solano County, because of how they have not only taken a pulse of their organization, but to kind of see how we can help them get to their next level.
Yeah.
And so and part of that is the accountability piece.
Yeah.
Right. And so today we had the opportunity to kind of teach some leadership development to leaders within the organization.
Yeah.
And so help them to give them some practical principles.
Yeah.
So that they can go to the next level. And one of the topics being accountability.
Mm-hmm.
So
accountability for you. 21 years, military, Air Force, instructor, father, sons playing basketball. Like, how do you teach that? Or how do you bring accountability to a conversation where maybe it's not there?
Yeah. Number one, it is as you were kind of saying that, number one is showing up.
Yeah.
I think that over the years of being a father, being a leader of the home, I've learned to speak the accountability to my kids as far as sharing what my goals are, as I'm asking them what theirs are, and telling them, or finding ways to tell them, hey, it's okay to hold dad accountable, right?
Yeah.
If I say I'm going to show up at 6 p.m. and I'm consistently not showing up, right? Like, let's talk about that. Like,
Yeah.
Don't never be afraid to bring the conversation to the table.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that I'm not perfect, but I just think that through the lessons, just trying to really be that example as a father, right? That's to keep it simple, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I think that can be one of the hardest places too. Because I don't know if I talked about it on an episode or if we talked about it, but like the whole thing with the kids in the school just starting. I think we might have talked about it on the last episode, but even just like that accountability piece of like, how can I tell you guys to be on time if I myself am not on time? I know there's just like, do as I say, not as I do. And, although sometimes that applies, right? Because as an adult, I have freedoms that you don't have as a child.
Right.
But when it comes to like value-based things, I don't think that there can be like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a dual-sided standard, a double standard. Can't be a double standard. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people will run with like this double standard, especially if at one point they had the standard.
I'll be honest with you, talking about standards, and to your question, one of the things that I feel like has helped me get to that next level, or helping me get to my next level, is the accountability within the family. You know what I'm saying? Like being very clear to my wife on what, what I'm looking to achieve, or what we should look at achieving in the next 6 months, even with the kids. Like, I think those conversations at the table that I didn't have as a kid, but are changing that narrative to have those conversations. I feel like because I'm naturally internally motivated, like I don't need anything extra.
Yeah.
To share with them, the family, on what my next level is, telling them this to hold me accountable. That is, to me, that's the boost.
For sure.
That's the boost.
Yeah, I I got energy drinks, and Ivy was like, "Dad, I thought you said you weren't drinking those no more." And I was like,
Yes.
"Get out of my
Yeah.
face."
It's funny in leadership, it's kind of the same things. I feel like so many leaders, and even kind of going back to the workshop, I feel like so many leaders are afraid to ask their peers and ask the people that they're leading to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Right? Like just the transparency, or even not even asking them to it, but like the expectation of, like, I expect that, whether we're peers or whether I'm leading you,
Yeah.
to hold me to a certain standard and to hold me accountable for my actions and or lack of.
Yeah.
And I think that so many leaders are afraid of that.
So a topic right now that I know is like a big one is like, because I know you specifically always talk about like a standard of excellence.
Mhm.
And I know with us being prior military, there was always this expectation to go above and beyond.
Mhm.
The generations coming up now, that's not an expectation for them necessarily anymore.
Mhm.
You notice it kind of more and more, especially like with the workforce, is like, hey, you paid me to do a job.
Right.
I did the job. Leave me alone.
Right.
And there's a dichotomy to that, right?
Mhm.
Because you obviously hear the arguments of, well, if you go to McDonald's and you're like, hey, can I get extra fries? You got to pay for it. And so there's obviously that same, thought process when it comes to the work that I do or things like that. How do you have that conversation
With my kids or with people,
with right
like
now,
leading the
someone
people?
in your workforce? Or like, what are your thoughts on that? Because it's like,
Yeah.
I'll tell you my thoughts are,
Okay.
I don't disagree.
Mhm.
I because I think there are certain people who will inadvertently go above and beyond because that's just who they are.
Right.
And those people, cherish them, love them, wrap them in a blanket, promote them, whatever, right?
Mhm.
And so, but at the same time, I'm also not going to hate on the person who's like, hey, I go to work, I can get all my work done in the time frame that's given to me. I do it exactly as is expected, when it's expected, the quality is expected.
Right.
But I give you nothing else. I also don't disagree with that because I'm like, I think especially for me, if the time frame and the quality is met, who am I to be like, we'll do more?
Mm. So one of the things that I do whenever I lead people, teams, is that I sit down and do a one-on-one with them. And I have very specific questions.
Yeah.
And asking them. And the reason why I'm asking those questions is kind of twofold. One, because I genuinely have an interest in it. The other piece to that is it will allow me to know how to lead them, still have my standards, but it's kind of like the leading people where they are.
For sure.
Right? Like if I ask a question as far as like, hey, where do you, within the organization, where do you see yourself in the next 2 to 5 years or 1 to 3 years? Right? Is it here? Is it not?
Yeah.
Because that gives me a sense of a target to drive them towards.
Yeah.
Right. Because, we heard it several times today, that people around them within their community seen things in them that they didn't see in themselves.
Yeah.
And essentially that's leadership, right? Or a piece of it. And so the same thing, when I sit down and I do those one-on-ones, by the time I get finished talking with them, I'm very clear on the direction I need to push them.
Yeah.
Right. I understand that. So for example, I had a recent conversation with someone and their goal is to be a CFO.
Okay.
And one of the questions I was asking them is, okay, number one, what does that look like? Like, what does that look like to you? Right. And so again, just getting very, very clear. So really they're painting the picture to me on their own target. And I'm just going to help coach them and lead them to kind of get there.
Yeah.
And a piece of that conversation is the accountability.
For sure.
Hey, are you coachable? Not to kind of go off topic, but just to work coachability. Isaiah started flag football today, and their word of the day was coachability.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And so to go back and tie that back into accountability in that conversation and those one-on-ones, I'm asking those questions
Yeah.
so that I can push them. And so if I have a conversation, they're like, "Oh, I'm just here," right? I'm still going to tell them what my standard of excellence is and what my expectations are.
Yeah.
And then, but again, I'm going to push them a little bit differently than how I push the person who wants to be at that next level.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So long answer to your question, but that's my answer.
G's not a short answer person.
No.
Long story short,
Yeah, long story short. I want to give you the so I remember having a conversation with Tegan. The reason why I do that is because I try to paint the picture.
No, yeah. I'm the same way.
So that I want you to see the canvas.
Yeah. Well, context. And I think that's another part of the conversation when it comes to the accountability piece.
Mhm.
Not enough leaders are painting the canvas of the expectation.
Yes.
So you find a lot of people who are upset or they feel as though, this generation, this, and this. And, I know when we teach, we ask the question of, have you had a conversation? Like a legit conversation, not just, I expect you to do good. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't want to say treat people like children, but I treat conversations as if I was talking to a child.
Mhm.
I need to give you all the information that I have
Right.
so that you can accomplish the task. When I'm teaching my kids to load the dishwasher, I don't just say, go put things in the dishwasher. Hey, this plate goes here.
Right.
I need you to rinse this off. You don't need to clean that.
Mhm.
This goes on the top,
Yeah.
and then eventually, once they understand the standard, then you don't have to do that.
Right.
You can just be like, hey, go do that.
Right.
But I think there's too much of an expectation, especially with technology. I
Mhm.
feel like because of technology, there's become this expectation that people inherently just know more.
Mm. Yeah.
And they don't. They have access to it, but at the same time, we've also grown up in a time where access to information is so good
Mhm.
that it has almost made people not use it.
100%. People have access to a library that has thousands of books, but they don't read the books.
Yeah. They talk
Um,
about the books though.
I'm in the library. So I have a question for you. So as a father leader, international certified coach, CEO, when you're coaching and teaching leaders or business owners on how to have these conversations,
Yeah.
what does that look like?
I just tell them to be honest. I mean, that's like, be honest, be curious, be non-judgmental.
Mhm.
That non-judgmental piece is a huge part of it because many of the people that I talk to, coach, do workshops with, every time I discuss, oh, we all know more than everybody else, right? There's always, oh, I'm like, no, you guys are saying that because it's true. How many times do you sit across from somebody and all you can think about is how much you think you're smarter than they are? And unfortunately, we've gotten out of this path where like mentoring people and guiding them is like no longer a priority for many of us. It's like, and that's also at the fault of society, right?
Mhm.
Society has become so hard that many people are like, I barely have enough energy for myself, let alone energy for your ass.
Mhm.
And you can't do that.
Mhm.
But so it's like this dichotomy of accountability, right? Like I'm accountable to myself, but you're supposed to be accountable to me, but I don't have to be accountable to you. But we're accountable to the job, but you work for me. So at the end of the day, you're accountable to me.
Right.
It's like this weird evolution of responsibility that people both want and don't want at the same time.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a very interesting. I was trying to paint the canvas as you were.
What?
I said I was painting the canvas as you were kind of piecing all that together.
Well, I don't think there's not a singular answer.
For sure.
I mean, it's all. I mean, as we know, it's like it's situational, but it's also just like a lot of people don't want the expectation that's
Mhm.
put upon them.
Yeah.
And and we grew up in this time and where it was like you said earlier, if people saw stuff in someone that they didn't see in themselves,
Mhm.
sometimes people just they don't want it, whether
Yeah.
you see it or not. They're just like, that's not where I'm at now.
Mhm.
And I think that's another piece of it is like, are you meeting your people where they are?
Yeah.
Because you can't try and turn somebody into a leader who can't even see 2 feet in
Right.
front of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think that with the meeting people where they are and the accountability, I think people who fill leadership positions,
Mm.
kind of get those two. Like, I don't think they have a clear understanding of you can hold people accountable and still lead them with it where they are.
Yeah.
Right. And still have your clear expectations
Mhm.
on your vision. Oftentimes I keep seeing some leaders who fill leadership positions, but they miss that mark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's pretty. Part of me is like, hey, this is pretty simple. But again, I've been in. So I
Stop
try
thinking
to
you're
look
smarter
at.
than everybody else. G.
But I also try to keep in mind, like, I've been in leadership for 16 of my 21 years in the military. Actually, it's probably 18 of the 21, but still, that accountability piece, I think of environment.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And with the if you are aspiring to be a leader and or currently filling a leadership role, you have to embrace the accountability piece and execute it. Like, one of the things we were talking about today was, the accountability is such a missing link in so many businesses and organizations.
Yeah.
Right. Whether people are afraid to hold folks accountable, whether they don't, whatever the excuse is, if you're looking to grow an organization, a business, you have to hold people accountable.
Mhm.
But first create the vision so you can have so that you can hold people accountable to that thing.
Yeah.
And I think that from many talks probably last month with folks is that the vision isn't clear to people.
No.
So it's like, I didn't know I wasn't holding them accountable.
Yeah. So we're gonna do something new today.
Okay.
So I just Googled.
Okay.
How many Gen Zs want to be leaders? And I clicked on the first article that came up, the non-sponsored article, right?
Okay. Yeah.
From Forbes. And it's an article called Execs Think They Develop Strong Leaders. 68% of Gen Z disagrees.
Oh, yeah.
So 68% of the largest, or well, millennials technically the largest workforce, I think, right? Or actually, maybe it's shifted. But either way, it says it was a recent study by GE showed that while 90% of C-suite executives say their company supports the development of strong leaders, 68% of entry-level Gen Z employees feel the same way. This divergence of views results in missed golden opportunities to develop a workforce that truly upholds a leadership mindset at every level.
Yes. So more than half of the Gen Zs say that they don't feel that they are.
Yeah. Almost three quarters.
I think that's spot on. I see it.
Yeah.
And it goes. One of the questions that was even asked today, without giving a specific question, was based around how are you connecting with, the Gen Zers?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what I've seen in talking to folks who are filling executive leadership roles is that there's a couple of things in organizations that's not happening.
Yeah.
There's no mentorship program or coaching program.
Yeah.
Right. People in mid-level management are not connecting with the people that they lead, who are generally Gen Zers. And if you don't connect with people and if you don't provide them guidance and a clear vision, and you can't hold them accountable.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, but it's hard. It is hard for people in leadership positions to try to guide someone to the next level.
Yeah.
If they don't create the vision, sit down and connect with them and figure out what it is that person is trying to do.
Yeah.
Right. Because I may be trying to push you to go left, but your goals are all right.
Yeah. No, and I think that's where like that missed motivation is, right? They think that they're developing people or giving them opportunities based off how they grew up in the workforce.
They're not.
They're not.
Yeah.
Well, we don't care. They don't care about the same thing. I don't care about the same
Mhm.
thing as the people above me, right?
Right.
Or when I'm doing certain things, like all of us have different motivators when it
Mhm.
comes to like what's important, and some people are also at a crossroads of what's important to them. And so
Mhm.
that's where like that burnout happens, because people get pulled in all these different directions, and they're trying to figure out, where do I really want to serve myself or the place that I'm at.
Yeah.
And it's like that. It's always comes down to that communication piece, right?
Mhm.
And no one wants to do surveys anymore. So you can't really count on surveys and from a workforce, right? Because people also don't trust them at this point.
Mhm.
There's all how many surveys and things have been done, and I mean, I can't tell you how many places they just say, "Oh, well, nothing ever happens." We do these surveys, and then nothing happens.
Yeah, so, over the last 9 months, right? Initial surveys were about 30 something percent.
Mm,
And over the 9 months, it grew to where, or 37% of the organization was actually doing surveys. Um, and then over the course of that 9-month window, seen a significant increase to 68%, 69%
okay.
of the organization was doing it. The disconnect, and what you said, is organizations who see a low participation rate in surveys
Hmm.
is one as the surveys being executed, and then there's nothing afterwards,
Yeah.
right? And so one of the things in helping the organization do was providing them the results, right? The data, right? So
Yeah.
providing them the results and then challenging them that to create something and or respond back to the people
Yeah.
while being connected.
For
I
sure.
think because of that piece of it, that's where they've seen a 2x in their survey
Yeah.
while the organization is still growing. So the numbers, while it doubled,
Probably tripled
it
based
actually,
off the
yeah,
original numbers.
exactly. And so, but that's the disconnect, is that people provide surveys and then they don't do anything with it. They get the data, they have the conversation at the table,
Yeah.
but you have to do something with the data.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other piece is good for it too is not only are they seeing that you are doing something about it,
Mhm.
it's also even more important when you're asking them to help come up with solutions
Mhm.
and or to validate some of the things, right?
Right.
And it's not to create a finger pointing contest, but obviously perspectives are different.
Mhm.
There's a different perspective from a company level, manager level, worker
Right.
level, things like that. And so what may seem as like this easy fix,
Mhm.
sometimes people just need to be educated on what that
Yeah.
fix looks like.
Yes.
And or why it's like that in the first place. And there is no fix. It's just
Mhm.
you're trying to come up with a solution that doesn't need to be
Yeah.
came up with.
And sometimes as the leader, you don't have to be the you don't have to come up with the actual solution,
Hmm.
right? I think to the Gen Z point is something else that's missing, is that if I'm trying to cultivate more leaders from the next generation, they need to be a part of the conversation,
Yeah.
right? They're not sitting at the table to see the kind of conversations that strategic leaders are having.
Yeah.
How do they get
Facts.
there? Yeah, it's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, that's spot on. I definitely 100% agree with that percentage.
We trying. So as we close up,
Mhm.
tidbit, last thought, quote, because you're the man of many quotes. On this particular subject, or something that people can take kind of with them as a tangible thing to think about during the day.
Yeah. I'll keep it simple. You started off with asking me a question regarding fatherhood, and accountability. I would say, um, with the accountability piece,
Mm-hmm.
if you are aspiring to be at your next level, the first piece of the accountability is to do a self assessment.
Mm-hmm.
The second piece to that will be to find an accountability partner.
Yeah.
Um, I'll leave it at that. That's the twofold, right? The self assessment, and then find an accountability partner
Yeah.
at whatever level. At whatever level. If you are, high school young leader, you've been in entrepreneurship or leadership or whatever. I feel that those are two key things.
Okay.
That's it.
So I forget what the specific quote is, but we always say is that your actions will fall to the level of preparation that you put to them, right? So I always think about this. Have you heard of the shopping cart test?
I've heard of it. I don't know
Okay.
what it is.
So what the shopping cart test is that when you're at the grocery store, you're by yourself, no one else around, are you going to put the shopping cart back? Are you someone, you always see all the time, the shopping carts all over, whether it's raining, whatever.
Yeah.
They did a test on it, people, about the people who put it back no matter what. And although it's something very simple, every time I'm at the grocery store, I make sure that the kids or anybody sees me put the cart back no matter what. Doesn't matter if, or if I'm by myself, the whole premise is that if I'm always operating in that place, there is no other standard to where I will operate at.
That's powerful. You mentioned a shopping cart, and I know we're closing, and so you just took me back to 4 days ago. I was in the parking lot, and I don't know why this particular store's parking lot was designed this way, where there was on 2 sets of the aisles, there was nowhere to put the shopping cart back.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's 100 degrees outside.
Sounds like Sam's Club.
It's 100 degrees outside. I'm in a suit, and it goes back to that piece, right? And when you just said that, the question I asked myself is, will you be consistent with holding yourself accountable?
Yeah.
Because I looked left, looked right, there was no place to put it.
Yeah.
And I walked all the way down.
Yeah. It's very easy to just be like, boop,
let me just leave this right here.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the little things that make you great.
Correct.
It's focusing on the little things can make you great.
Yeah. Well, it's compound interest.
Yeah. Yeah. How you do anything is how you do everything. And I know that's, it was interesting when I first heard that. I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then, but if you really check yourself with those little things, that's the accountability.
Yep.
How you do anything is how you do everything. That's the self-accountability.
Boom. All right. Well, with that being said, like, love, subscribe. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. We do it for y'all. We appreciate you. But other than that, we out. Peace.
So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is...
I was afraid, I didn't know what to do. A lot of us be coming in it.
And what I'll say was amazing to me was
Season 2, welcome back to the L3 Perspective. My name is Glenn Davis. As you know, I'm sitting here with my co-host, Cameron Macias.
Coach Cam.
L3 Perspective, as you know, we talk about life, love, leadership.
As we talked about in the past, like, love, share, subscribe. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Because at the end of the day, we do it for you guys.